And I did the audio. Okay. That might be my 0.005% improvement from yesterday. All I can ask is to get a little bit better each time. So, for those of you that tuned in late last night, we ended with me loading up a project that I did about probably a year and a half ago in a really early version of the Tilt 5 SDK, and it ended up locking my computer up, and I had to three-finger salute to kill Unity. So this time I did a little work ahead of time. So this morning I woke up and I figured out what the heck was going on. Turns out that I'd been hacking in that zombie project at some point in the last year and a half, and I had it set up where it was just endlessly trying to load the scene over and over and over again. So yeah, that was kind of lame. So for those of you that didn't see last night, oh, hi from Argentina. Nice, thanks for tuning in. Let me describe what we've got going on here. So I've got the Unity editor up over here in the middle of the screen with a zombie game. It's a cute little voxelized zombie game. This is an asset that's available on the Unity asset store. So this is very much just a Unity asset flip. It came mostly running, so it had a nav mesh and had characters that ran around and zombies that navigate towards you and you can shoot them. And down in the lower left over here, the thing that says Mixcast, that is a webcam that I've got hooked up to the computer, and we're using the Mixcast.me compositing system for the Tilt 5 system. So when I click play, you will see a composited image on the game board off to the right side of me that shows you what I see through the glasses. And we went through that yesterday a little bit if you're curious about going back and seeing a little bit of how you set that up. Then let's see, I'll probably, why don't I start the game as is after I got it kind of fixed, and then we'll go through some of the pieces that I want to clean up. So ultimately I want to clean up and make this multiplayer, and I want to try a couple things with moving the game board gizmo around and see how that looks through the glasses. But let's see if it explodes when I hit play. And I may want to adjust the volume levels because you'll probably get a little annoyed with all of the moaning and groaning from the monsters. There it is. Are the klaxons and monsters too annoying? Hey James, hello from the Mojave Desert. It's cool. I want to get out to the desert, but maybe when it's not flooding out there. Sometimes I like to hop in the RV and do gold prospecting. It's kind of a old school, kind of fun thing to do, and pretty satisfying, the thrill of the hunt. So if I hold the glasses up here, you'll see as I move the glasses around in the editor, you can see that we can have the game running right in the editor. So if I get in here close, I can move my character around. You can see this little voxel guy here. Hey Square Peg, good to see you again. So everything's all retro cube shaped, which is kind of fun. Yeah, ultimately I'd like to play around with this and see if it's fun having multiple users playing simultaneously, because it's nominally fun playing together. You know, it wouldn't keep most people interested more than 20 minutes or so. And maybe we can add some extra levels to it as well. So the character right here, when I'm moving the joystick side to side, is going to different waypoints. So I chose this originally to kind of keep it simple. A lot of times we have to demo our system to users that haven't played very many video games. So this kind of on rails positioning of the character was kind of nice. And then your character, when you point out in the scene, you can see this little reticle out here will point, so you can just point at the various zombies that come towards you and you can fire at them. So I did enough to get the game to start again and to get the character moving, but we need to do a little bit of refactoring and try to clean this up before we can even consider making it multiplayer. So why don't we dive into that? Yeah, chat room saying they like the voxels. I do too. Sometimes I get a little tired of all of the photorealistic stuff. I kind of like to go back and to kind of what feels like 8-bit days. How was the game audio? Was that way too loud and too annoying? I can turn it down for you all. All right, so the area where I had trouble last night, if you were watching, I had a script that disappeared. And I think I know what happened because I wanted to upgrade to the new Tilt 5 multiplayer device manager or Tilt 5 manager. And I probably had a script that I wrote for all of the joystick input that was living in that folder. And so when I deleted the Tilt 5 folder, I lost that script. So we no longer had any kind of input control, which also had the knock-on effect of causing something in the game logic to just be loading the scene like 10 million times. Oh, great. Good to hear that the audio is just about right. So I have this script, the restart control. I'm going to get it off of the Tilt 5 prototype here in a little bit, but let's go take a look at what I did to hack it up enough to get going, and then also test really quickly just character control. I want to split out character control to be separate, so we'll write that script in a little bit here. So the main game logic is run from a script called game. And so you can see that I'm pulling in game here and I'm accessing some events within the game engine here. So when we go to this, oh, someone sees the kitties. Yeah, there's 2 kitties here. Nicola and Lady Tubbington. So Lady Tubbington is up in the window back here and Nikki's down on the floor. And he might come visit. Lady Tubbington is a little bit aloof. Okay. So in the reset control, which I think is okay for now, just for the beginning so we can start and reset games when they end, I'm pulling in the game over, I have a game over bool that gets set from the game logic. And this gets evaluated, well, it gets set down here in game over set. So I can call this from a different script and let this script know that the game is over. And this is important because I only want to start the game one time and only when the game is over. So down here is when button 1 is pressed, start the game once, and then set game over to false so it doesn't go into an endless loop. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of all this test code. So I have a bunch of test code in here that's pulling in the joystick tilt value. We're going to make a new script eventually to control the character. So we'll get rid of that. And then I'm going to get rid of this one shot. I had a one shot in the control, so you have to actually click the button left and right once to go to each of the waypoints. Otherwise, you just hold it to the side. It gets a little confusing because your character is navigating between the different waypoints, and you can overshoot the waypoints. And then this is the agent. So the agent is what controls the game character. So I was pulling in the agent. So that's going to go to a different script. So now in the restart control, we have start game and reset game. So reset game just reloads the scene. It goes through a little bit of logic. And then start game, you press 1 to actually start playing the game. So I think this is all okay. So in the update loop, we're looking at the tilt 5 input, try get button, button 1. Actually, I'm going to change this to be a little bit more generic since we're going to expand this out to have up to 4 players. So this function outputs button 1 a bool, whether it's happened on, it's a falling edge. So try to get button down, falling edge, and that will be set for 1 update cycle. And then it's going to be the right controller. So tilt 5 controller index is the right controller. And as I was mentioning last night, we naively assume everyone's right-handed, but you can set this to left or have both of these. In the game, you can do dual wielding funness. And then player index. So player index is something, it's an enum we can pull in from tilt5.playerIndex. This is player 1, 2, 3, 4, and so we can set that in the editor. So this is a public variable we can set. So right now, the way it's set in the editor, only player 1 can push their 1 button and start the game. So let's use that generic. I don't know, is it more customary to have a lowercase b or a lowercase first letter and then capital in Unity? I see it all over the place. You know, different ways you do the capitalizing. Hopefully there's some Unity experts in the chat room. So in the update loop, this happens once, you know, every frame. It checks to see if the button's pressed. If it is, then it presses it calls the button 1 press function. If it's game over, reset the game and then clear the flag. If it's not game over, we're at the start game menu and it will start the game. And this may not be great. We might be able to press the 1 button in the middle of the game and start the game again or do something. We'll see. Okay, 3WI1J in the chat room says, lower first for variables, yes. Hey, I'm just a hardware designer. I work with solder, so all of this is a little bit weird to me. I did do quite a bit of chip design when I was earlier in my career, and I think that a lot of my C# coding and every other type of coding looks a little bit like Verilog when it's done. Okay, I think this will work. Someone asks, I like the joystick. It makes me think of a Wii controller, except for designed by someone who loved the days back when all of the walkies, RC cars had a big antenna. Yeah. So the antenna on here, sometimes people think it's like some kind of RF antenna. It actually is just a big array of infrared LEDs that are modulating. And so each headset commands the wand to modulate these LEDs in different patterns so that it can differentiate between all the different wands around the table. So you can have like dozens of wands and they can even be crossing from each other. It's pretty robust. It's pretty cool. Our industrial designers that helped us on this hated it so much. They tried everything to get rid of the barbecue lighter look, but it just play tested so well. All right. Let's save that and let's go check and make sure I didn't bust anything before we start working on player input. So I should be able to start the game. Press 1. Okay. And I took out the player control, so I can't move anymore. I can't fire yet. So here comes the zombies down to attack me. I might as well let them kill me once so you can kind of see, and maybe we can test this game reset functionality. Oh no, game over. This is a pretty cool little effect. It looks like blood's kind of flowing down the game board. All right, I'm going to press 1 to restart. Yep. Okay, I didn't break anything. That's good. We're doing a lot better than yesterday. Okay, let me see if I can break this by... I don't like the reset control living on the TIL5 prototype. I kind of want to get that up close to the game logic. So game logic lives up on what's called core up here. And that's where this game script is. So I'm going to add reset control here. And I'm going to drag the game script down in here so I can access it. Okay, so the game script is now accessible by this script. If I go down to game, oops, I forgot what was I going for. This is start game, so I have to go find game, start game, game start. Okay, and then reset game. Do the same thing. I'm going to pull this script down in here. Go to game and then reset. See, I didn't use the same naming convention. I think it's game restart. Game start and game restart. Now we can go back to the other script. Game start and game restart. Okay, I think I have it correct. Oh, I have to make the player index. I mentioned this before, so which player can start the game? I think in the long run what we're going to want to do is have almost like a lobby. So if you have, say, 4 headsets plugged in, you know, the first person that hits start game, a timer starts counting down, and it gives an opportunity for player, you know, the other 3 players to join or not join. And if they don't join, they're just a spectator, and if they do join, they're in the battle. So I have to remember to go back and set, for now, player index to 1. So I'm going to remove this script. I'm going to go back up to core. Set player index to 1 so that 1. Okay, let's see if I busted it. 3WI1J, he says, darn it, now I'm getting inspired to update my Unity to play with it again. I used to play with it with the early versions of the Linux port. There goes my evening. Yep, you should. And if you don't have a TIL5 yet, they're on sale. Shameless plug. All right, let's make sure I didn't break anything. So we're going to go through and make sure that I can start the game. Let's make sure that it can end. By the way, we have Linux drivers as well. So if you want to develop in Linux, we have Android. And internally, we have some Mac support as well. I just don't know when the team's going to start supporting that. A lot of developers like to use Mac, even if they're cross-compiling. I haven't tried the Linux drivers in a while. It was a little convoluted originally, but I assume it's been cleaned up. I do all my development now on Windows. All right, so we made it to the end of the game. Let's see if I can restart. Well, that's interesting. I don't recall. Did the game over screen not disappear before? Oh, it's not resetting. Hmm. Okay. Broke it. What could be happening? Let's go look at that script again. Maybe I was in such a hurry I didn't notice that it wasn't working last time. Okay. Reset game. Oh, I know what happened. I know what happened. So if we go back to the editor, I have this function down here, game over set, where I set this flag that allows the button, when pressed, to reset the game. So I need to go right here. So in the script, the game logic script, there is event game over. I need to do the full loop. I need to allow the game over script to come over here and uh-oh, I just got a warning that my laptop is almost full and running out of space. I better go delete something real quick. I'd hate to blue screen this thing. One moment, please. I wonder if these video files are also from OBS are being saved to the computer. All right, I'm on my other screen now, digging down, just finding junk I can delete. Any questions while I clean up my C drive enough so that we don't blue screen the computer? By the way, I'm not drinking adult drinks quite yet today, so that may have contributed to my problems I was having yesterday. 3W1 3VI1J says he hearts, or they heart, the cross-platform support. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really neat using Unity projects, using Tilt 5 on Android. We got that going a couple months ago, and as soon as we got it going, we ported over some of our like Tilt 5 experiences games and stuff, and we were running around the office just like looking at every game board and running in circles around the game board. It was very liberating. The Electronics Fool asks, what would you say the learning curve is like? Been interested for a while, but I'm extremely mediocre at coding and have a hard time pulling the trigger. Yeah, I think proof's in the pudding. If I can do this, then anybody can do this. I've avoided programming forever because I just don't like it. It doesn't make sense to me, and it seems so tedious. Things that you can do even in ASIC design where you can just have everything running in parallel make a lot more sense to me than doing a bunch of sequential stuff. But what I found in Unity that I like is everything's kind of running, kind of pseudo in parallel. So each one of these little game objects out in the scene, you can have scripts on them that all nominally fire, once per frame and do their own thing. So I was pleasantly surprised that things that I liked in electronics kind of apply to the game engine. As far as getting going, it's not terrible. Yesterday on the stream I showed how to, get your first project going in Tilt 5. It's mostly drag and drop, and then you can get stuff rendering. And then you can just incrementally build from there. So yesterday I brought in the Tilt 5 stuff, I plopped down 3 cubes on the table, and then I could display them immediately. And then I pulled in some ready-made scripts that we had that allowed you to pick them up and move them around. Hey, Tested from Destruction. Hello from the UK, he says. Hopefully it's not too late for you. I'm not sure what the time difference is like. Okay, let me go to my Unity directory and delete some stuff because I'm really worried. There's got to be some junk in my Unity projects folder where I can free up some space really quick for us. Apologies for making you sit here and wait while I delete stuff. Okay, I'll delete the AI avatar. That sounds good. I pulled in a bunch of like this AI stuff that uses ChatGPT to, you could do speech to text to ChatGPT to an avatar that would talk back. It was interesting. It was kind of cool. You had an avatar standing on the table that you could talk to, but it was so slow, like, because there was a couple services being used. It would go off into the cloud. It would do the speech to text, and then it would get transferred to ChatGPT, which would chew on it for a while. And then there was text to speech, and then the character would talk. Seems like there's, fluid conversations with AI is a little ways off. All right, so let me find a few more things to delete. I think I'll get rid of this ragdoll. I was doing a ragdoll what do they call them? Rocket sock'em robots. I didn't get too far on it, so I can always recreate that. Don't want to delete the pinball game. I have a really fun pinball game. It's starting to shape up. Maybe we can work on that a little later, where it is 2-player co-op against 2 other players co-op, where it looks like the bottom of a pinball playfield for each of the 2 players sitting on one side of the table. So it's kind of the traditional bottom flippers on each side. And then in the middle, it's like the game called Spanish Eyes, where there's 2 flippers and a pop bumper right in the middle. But the kind of trick is, player on the left controls the left flipper in the middle, and player on the right plays the right flipper. So you have to cooperate on that. And then across the table is a mirror image of it. It looks like it's going to be pretty fun. Get rid of this one. Ooh, that was a nice big tasty one. Mini gigabytes. I'm using one of these ROG laptops. It's about an $800-900 laptop to do this. So it's doing OBS, it's doing Unity, it's running the glasses, it's doing Mixcast. It's doing okay so far. It can run 4 of our glasses fairly well. I was a little worried running all the OBS and whatnot. All right, let me take a look. I have a little under a gigabyte left. Maybe that'll suffice for now. All right. Mike Jones says, interesting, like doubles tennis, kind of. Yeah, that's pretty good analogy. And the board goes up at the middle, so you go up to the top, and then it rolls down to the other 2 players, so you're batting it back and forth. There's a couple different ways I'm thinking about scoring the pinball game. I could do it like the classic Williams Joust pinball. It's a pretty obscure pinball machine that was head-to-head, so it was just one player versus the other. And the way you get points is you try to keep the ball on your half of the playfield and hit all the targets on your side, and you try to starve the other player's player from getting the ball. Another thing that's possible, because it's Tilt 5 doing this, not just a physical pinball machine, that I thought might be cool, is whoever last touched the pinball gets the points. And so that might be a little bit more equitable, like if you hit the ball over to the other side and it's bouncing around and hits a pop bumper and comes back to you. So that's going to be a pretty fun one. Pinball is really fun on our system. There's a pinball construction set on Unity's asset store that I'm using for the basis of this. Has really good physics, and just the default pinball machine that it comes with as an example is really fun to play with. I want to hold the game controller like a Wii controller and have use the accelerometer to nudge the machine too, and then you hit the buttons to do the left and right. Okay, I think we're safe for a few minutes on storage, so let's get back. So what I was doing before was the game logic script was talking to the restart script. Or what? No, the restart script was talking to the game logic script here correctly. But the feedback of game over wasn't happening. So I dragged restart control up into one of these slots, and you can just create these slots for this communication between scripts, these events. And now I need to go to restart control and choose game over set. So when we enter the end game state, it should send an event over which will set this game over bool, which then will allow us to restart the game. So let's give that a shot. So yeah, I found Unity not to be too difficult. You know, not having much of a background in game design. I picked it up pretty quick. I would say, like, I don't know, a couple weeks of fiddling around here and there, I was able to get some pretty interesting things stood up. Like this particular little game was some assets that I pulled from the Unity asset stores and put together just to test our SDK at some point. And this is a year and a half ago. I'd say maybe 2 years ago, I had almost zero Unity support experience. All right, so we hit end of game. If I hit 1, yep, and we restart. So that's good. Good. We're heading in the right direction again. So Chad's asking, which one do you prefer? Unity, Unreal Engine, Godot Engine, Game Maker Studio, CryEngine, Construction, Lumberyard? Let me stop this noise. I don't have a lot of experience with anything but Unity, so I don't really have opinion. Our team members, however, a lot of them like using Unreal a lot because there's a bunch of automagical things that you can do to make really pretty scenes. And I think you probably have to work harder in Unity to make the same kind of level of prettiness. But I don't know, I come from the toy industry where it's got to be fun first and then you figure out how to make it pretty. So I come from a different perspective. I can have fun with just white colored cubes moving around the table. And frequently I come up with like little things and then my team members are like, oh no, Jerry's been at it again over the weekend, and they take it away from me and then they actually make it good and make it pretty. Okay, all right, so that's a good starting point for the reset and start of game. But we are going to have to build the lobby functionality to this thing pretty soon. All right, let's start working on the players. So right over here is the player character. And under the player character are all the pieces for the player character. You know, hips and various things of the character to make it move around and animate. And on character, there's a nav mesh agent that helps it navigate. And then there's the agent script. So originally this sample project used touchscreen or keyboard. So there's a lot of extra junk in here. So I might want to go into the agent first. No, I don't. I have a different thing I want to do. So right here I have this thing that I built. It's called point position. And this is not associated with the player. It's not grouped together over here nicely. So I'm going to try to group this stuff together. So once I'm done, maybe I can just make a prefab which just has everything baked into it, and then I can just drop in player 2, 3, 4, and we can make multiplayer a lot faster. So I think what I want to do to start this prefab is to create an empty object. I think I want it, yeah, I think I want all of this stuff under the core of, I don't know what this level settings stuff is. Hi Death Stalker 00. Let me call this player 1. So what point position does is it picks up the position of the wand. So point position is hooked up to player 1's wand. Yes. So this is the Till5 manager script. I think I can get rid of this one now because I upgraded. Okay. Here's player 1. So this is the Till5 manager. This is part of the Till5 prefab that you bring in. And here's all the different players, and you can add and subtract them. We can go to player 1 wand. We can see that point position is hooked to the very tip of the wand. And so that is an empty game object with some scripts on it. And point position has this script that is identifying what I'm calling the floor. And so the floor is this plane that is going to, the wand is going to raycast down to and collide with. So let's look at this script real quick. I looked at it last night. I want to refresh my memory. Yeah, Mike Jones RTSs are really cool on this. We have a couple third-party ones on our website that you can download or buy. Not too many yet. We need a lot more. Okay, so this is the script that's hanging off the tip of the wand. So it's creating a line. So that's the line you see coming down from the wand with a particular color scheme. It does a ray cast forward angle, tip down at 45 degrees so your wrist isn't like having to bend really sharp. And it registers all the hits, what it collides with. And then it loops through everything it hits, and it looks for hitting the floor. And then it moves the target pointer. So you saw there's a little reticle that moves around. So it moves that reticle to that position. And then I'm sure the agent has a script on it to tell it, or so player agent must be looking for that reticle and just facing it. How that works, I don't know yet. I don't remember. It's been too long. Hmm. 3VI1J says, was just thinking the same thing earlier about SimCity. Lego style games would be awesome on it too. We have a little Lego game. I don't know if it's public. We use the Unity Lego assets. They have a bunch of free licensed Lego assets that you can use. It's kind of fun. Just a kind of proof of concept. Hey, Rick Dangerous. Good to see you. All right, we may have to go spelunking to figure out how the character looks at the reticle. But let's start by consolidating all this stuff. So I'm going to put the target, which is the reticle, and the point position, which is the pointer on the end of the wand, in here. I'm going to bring player up in there. So it's all consolidated under there. So the question is, did I break it? You never know. Oh, someone's talking about Trivial Pursuit in the chat room. We played basically, well, we called it Doodle Duels. Now I'm, not Trivial Pursuit. Oh, now you got me. I can't remember. The thing where you draw on a whiteboard. Yeah, it'll come to me in a second. All right, was my character still in there? Yeah, and it's still pointing towards the wand tip. Anyway, we used the Figment tool to do that drawing game. Man, I should have slept more. Okay, that's a good start. Now let's get some controls on here. So we're going to make a new script, and this one's going to Pictionary. Thank you, chat room. I don't know why I could not think of that. So we use Figment XR, which is a really cool platform. It's hard to describe because it does so much. You can draw on it in 3D. It has all different brushes like tilt brush. You can bring in 3D models. You can add physics to things and create your own little mini games. And it's also local player, plus you can log people in remotely. So we logged in a couple people remotely, one person remotely and a couple people local, and we just used the Pictionary cards. And we just played Pictionary in it, and it was so fun, because I normally hate Pictionary. I avoid it at all costs. But this one was fun because there was this new dimension to it where you could draw, and you could use all these different brushes and colors, and plus having people remote, logging in and screaming their answers. And then we did a live stream with it too, so we had the chat in there. I think the chat room beat us, having 50 people or so, all guessing at once can outdo the real folks. But the person that was logging in remote their name's Ewan, and they're a professional artist. So, I mean, they were drawing dolphins and all kinds of crazy stuff that was cool. Deathstalker00 says Trivial Pursuit was made in Canada. Didn't know that. All right, let's get some joystick control onto this player. So I'm going to make a new script, and let's call it player input T5, because player input sounds almost like something that would be a Unity existing script. Someone's mentioning graphical Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, there's a couple things. There's a couple things coming where they have kind of pre-canned D&D sessions. I don't know how public it is, so I shouldn't mention it. And then we have Battle Map Studio, where you can make all your own dungeons and put monsters in there. And you can kind of blend it with real world dice and miniatures and things like that. And then we did a D&D one-shot on the Jonathan Colton cruise about a year ago. And it was so fun. We just made a quick Unity scene where you had 5 players going through this kind of cave, system. And then Justin, who's one of our programmers, he plays D&D every single week, and he DMs, so he created the whole storyline behind this. And there were skeletons, and there were like toxic spores coming out of mushrooms, and tripwires and boulders falling, and you had your virtual characters moving around. What was cool about it is because each player had their own unique view into the scene, and then Justin had the DM controls on his view. He was able to start the game, have everyone roll for perception and all the stuff that you roll for, and then set it up on his screen. So some people could see the toxic spores and tripwires and others couldn't. So he kind of set the different levels. And when the players actually stumbled onto these things, they actually didn't see them until like the tripwire was tripped. It was pretty cool. And then it had pathfinding. It had a little grid system in it where you could click on different grids, so you could, choose how far you were going to move. At one point, one of these multiple sessions we did, someone was like cheering or something. They raised their hand in the air and pulled the trigger on their wand, which caused their character to just run off the table away from everybody. And Justin just rolled with it. He's like, the paladin went off exploring, whatever, and then continued. And then in the scene, there was like a elevated plateau above. And somehow this character that had run off the screen had path found its way up to this top level. And then, of course, Justin rolled with it and said, like, no, the paladin, like, has moved to higher ground for a better, visibility. And everyone was laughing. It was super fun. It really showed the power of what you can do for storytelling using our system. David Smith says, there's a new game that launched on Oculus in the last couple of days that would be perfect to put on Tilt 5, Dungeon Full Dive. I agree. There's so many things on Oculus that needs to work its way over here. Damio is one of them. Someone says, idea, run those 64 games in an emulator behind the scenes and add a layer to intercept the sprites and screen draws and render in 3D version in their place. So I love going through GitHub and finding kind of like fan remakes of games, and I found some pretty cool stuff. I found a 3D Pac-Man that's on spheres and cylinders, and that was really easy to bring over to our system. Of course, we can't release it because Bandai Namco, we love them and wouldn't want to, be sued by them either. Someone also made a fan remake of Diablo 2, which is kind of isometric, where the scenery is isometric from the camera position. It looks kind of 3D, but it's all 2D. And then the characters are sprites. So I downloaded this, and I just did a really simple look at script that would tip up the sprites like they were Paper Mario, and they just kind of faced you. And it worked. It really worked. Even though the terrain looked kind of flat and a little bit funny because it was isometric, it felt like you were running behind like brick walls and stuff, and it was super cute. Again, like, we really don't have the rights to release that, but anyone that wants to go out there and find those 2 projects, it's absolutely trivial to bring over to our system. Okay, let's get started on this script because I can ramble all day. So we're going to bring in the public Tilt 5 enums for player index. We'll call that player index. So we're going to do, this is going to be present in the in the editor, because we need to know player 1, 2, or 3, which player it is ultimately that's controlling each of these agents. So when we start duplicating, we're going to be able to want to set that. So if I jump back over to the editor, we can take a look at that. So right now, player index is none. We'll set it to player 1 because we're just working on making player 1 control player 1's character. Okay, that worked. What else do we need? We need access to that agent. And I forget what the agent is called. Oh, I have it open here. So we got to get the namespace for it. So this must be the company that made this project before. So that agent. It took me a while in Unity to figure out, when you do this, you make these variables which are, kind of referencing a script. I don't even know what it's quite called, but it's super handy once I figured out that I can do this, whatever it's called. Maybe someone says, hey, you guys, Goonies flashback. Call this agent lowercase since I'm trying to be good. All right. This is a point where I could say, I'm going to try it this way. I'm going to say using tilt5 up here. I can get rid of that, I think. This can be a little tricky sometimes when you're doing input system. If you actually want to use the keyboard input and the tilt5 input, because it's kind of the same, it gets a little difficult to manage. So sometimes you would want to actually say, like, the full tilt5 dot input using, or tilt5 dot input try get stick tilt, if you want to also use the keyboard, but I don't think we need to use the keyboard in here. Can I just go try get stick tilt? Maybe I'm trying to get too fancy here. I'm too dumb to do it, so we're just going to do it the old way, the long way. Okay, now I have to read all of the how to do this function. Input try get button. So it's going to output a vector 2. And it's the tilt axes. So I'm creating a vector 2 stick tilt. Someone says, oh no, SpeechBot. Maybe that's in reference to when I used to live stream about like 15 years ago in my hardware lab. That was pretty fun. I had a SpeechBot running 24 hours a day and multiple cameras people could switch around. And when I was in there tinkering on stuff, people could talk to me. Yeah, someone in the chat's trying to tell me how to make the tilt5 input work, but I'm too lazy to go back and try to do it. I can type a little bit. All right, now we're going to say, we're going to choose the right controller, and then we're going to choose player index. which we set outside in the editor. So this guy is going to be player 1. I remember when I was playing with this earlier, I made a one-shot bool, so I might as well keep it private. Bool, one shot, because I want you to click the joystick to the side once each waypoint. So we're going to have a one-shot kind of functionality here. So we're going to do stick tilt. I think it's the X axis, so you can either choose X or Y axis. And if it's less than or equal to negative 0.5, we're going to put a little bit of a dead zone in the middle. And one shot. Not on shot, one shot. So in theory, we can only get down in here once. David Smith says, my daughter is an interior designer, and I can see Tilt 5 being perfect for customer presentations. Carry around multiple glasses would be much more practical than multiple headsets. Yeah. We are selling a lot of units into sales and more professional uses. There's a company who sells really expensive machinery that requires facilities to be modified. And so they work with their client, they get the CAD drawings for the facility with all the walls and whatnot, and they bring it in. We have a CAD viewer. I don't think they're using our CAD viewer. I think they rolled their own thing. But, and they have models of these really big pieces of equipment that are going to be installed, and they can sit there with the operations folks at the facility and sit around the table, multiple people looking at it like, well, you'd have to move this wall over here to run the plumbing versus this and that. And actually, they say they love it because they can see their clients, they can see the room around them, plus the clients can actually pick up the magic wand and say, like, no, we can't move that wall because of electrical conduits. We can move this one, and they can collaborate a lot better. They said they tried to do it in VR, and it was a nightmare because they put the clients in a headset and they'd have to scream from the outside, like, look down, now push the red button. Now, it's just too much. It's hard to onboard people. That's the beauty of the Tilt 5 system, is it's super easy to onboard people because you just point right into the table where you want someone to click or to move around. And that's really where we shine, is when you have multiple people around the table. Okay, so we get in here if the joystick is negative enough in the X direction. So we're going to go agent, and I know it's something like move right or move left. Move left. So that's going to be calling a function in agent. And it'll start moving the character left. And then we are going to set one shot to, which direction do I want to go? To false. So we can't get back in there until we clear one shot. So that makes us go left. There's at least a 50-50 chance I chose left and right wrong. So we'll have to see what happens. So if If it's greater in the positive direction, then we're going to move right. I'm always jealous of our folks in the office that can do Unity really fast because, yeah, they'd be done a long time ago. Now we have to clear out that one-shot bool, so that only happens when we're in the dead zone, in the, when the joystick comes back to the middle. And that's going to be a combination of the opposite of these. See, I like this stuff because this reminds me of a lot of stuff you do in Verilog. You think about the conditions and the one shot to keep some circuit from continuing to count or not, and so this stuff makes a lot of sense to me. Other things don't. When things get highly abstracted away, then it breaks my brain a little bit. And make that true. I think that works. Who knows? Let's try it. Oh, did someone see the cat? Here, let's take a small break and I'll show you Nicola. He's the sweetest boy. Oh, Nicola. Say hi to everyone. He's a little tuxedo boy. Yes, he is. He's such a nice little boy. He has the highest little meow. He doesn't sound like a boy. All right, now go away. Now that you've shed your cat fur on me. Am I boring you all? Because making games is so thrill a minute. All right, so on our player, now we have the till5 input script, and I can pull the agent down here so we know how to access it. We're set to player index 1. Save it before it crashes again. Oh, oh my God, I rolled the dice and I even got left and right correct. The dead zone feels kind of good. Pretty responsive. Okay. All right, so let's take a look in the agent script on what else we can do in here. And we need to fire, obviously. It looks like we can also, looking at, these used to be, right through here, these used to be touchscreen buttons. Move right, left, hide, and fire. Jerry Ellsworth needs a power-up where you an attack helicopter familiar. Okay, that would be kind of cool, the auto aims. I'm getting old enough that, the super high-res tiny screen on the laptop, I can't read the chat. I need to figure out how to get that overlaid onto the stream itself. It's like 3-point font. Some other stuff I want to try today is right now the game board, you can see it here around the play area, is fixed. I want to try having it follow the character, and then we can play around with putting different waypoints like further down into the scene, or maybe expand the scene. So you can run around, and since it'll be following the game character, maybe we can zoom in a little closer and make everything a little bit bigger and a little bit more unexpected when a zombie pops out. And also, kind of expand the amount of action, because we can move to other parts of the map. All right, I was going to look at the agent script. So I want to look at how firing works. These are those buttons that were coming in: fire down, fire up. Looks like, oh, those aren't the buttons, are they? These are the buttons. Looks like we're going to have to do the trigger, and we're going to have to indicate fire up and down. Okay. Let's go back to our Tilt 5 player input script. So we're going to do another one of these Tilt 5 input, try get trigger. I have to look at the text here. So its output is a float, so it's going to be 0 to 1 on this one, because I've used it before. Out, float, trigger. That seems like that might be a Unity keyword. Just in case, I'm going to call it trigger button. Controller index, right hand, and then player index, which we're setting in the editor. All right, so all of this is in the update, so once per frame, it goes through and evaluates all this stuff, so we figure out the state of the different buttons. Wonder how it's going to behave if I continually spam the agent with fire up. I'm just deciding if I want to one-shot it somehow or if I want to just let it spam. So we'll spam it first and see if badness happens. I've run into a lot of Unity projects where, in hardware you do a lot of stuff. You always try to do edge triggering, and you try to just do one event at an edge, like a button going up or a wire changing from a 0 to a 1 and down. And a lot of bad things happen in Unity if you just do kind of level events, when the button is released. And that's kind of what I'm going to do here. Let's see how bad it is. So we're going to put a little bit of a dead zone in this. I don't know, I don't need to pull the trigger the whole way, maybe 0.4 F. If that happens, I'm going to go agent dot fire down, else, anything else, it's going to be fire up. We'll see what it does. The chat here. Ian says there's a game programmer who does some amazing math videos with graphics in Unity. I've forgotten the name. I'll look up her YouTube channel and post a comment here later. That'd be cool. I was using ChatGPT the other day to do antenna modeling, in Unity. So I asked it if it knew EasyNEC and the interface to it, and I kind of trained it up on using EasyNEC, and then I had it take the output from that library and then make a mesh and display it, and it was working. I have something set to a null up here. What is... Oh, yeah. Let me fix some of this real quick. So, in the original sample, when you fired, it would zoom the camera in and out, and I didn't like that. So I removed the kind of camera zoom stuff, and now it's got a null reference. Hey, Sherlock Ohms. Hello from northern Minnesota. Good to see you here. Love the handle, by the way. I appreciate that. Let's get rid of all the references to the camera up here. I think I can just kill it too. Yeah, we don't need all that zoominess. So we're going to do our own cinematics, which is going to be cooler, she says, confidently, not knowing how to do it. So Ian says her name is Freya Holmer. Her videos are next level and will look amazing in actual 3D. If you want to check out some really cool stuff too, there's all of these channels that talk about making shaders, and there's some incredible stuff you can do in shaders, and that's next level stuff too. Breaks my brain thinking about it. Mike Jones, hard asking a human for information for some reason, but ChatGPT doesn't have that problem. Yeah, if you have like a weak ego, going to ChatGPT to help you with your code is always handy. I don't really give a crap. I ask stupid questions from my team all the time. I'm just the idiot CEO. But when it's midnight and I want to make something happen, ChatGPT, if you can constrain it really narrow, or you can train it up by giving it like public functions and stuff, it can just write all the code, and it's really, really accurate. All right, so I think we should be able to fire, I think. Oops. I broke it. Oh boy. So other scripts are trying to access the agent game camera zoomed. So, gosh, I may have broke the entire project. So I'm going to start just commenting out instead of deleting. Why did this have errors? I don't see it anymore. not firing. Okay. Let's see what I did. To float out, if trigger button, which is this, is greater than 0.4, you do fire down. Let's go look at agent fired down. Start firing. If the parent is alive, and hiding is false, firing, oh, so it sets hiding false, pops you out of hiding, whatever that is. Starts a co-routine for firing. Alright, if anyone spots an error in my stuff, maybe what I'll do is just get rid of all my logic and just make the thing fire all the time and just see what happens. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Alright, I guess that's not how you make the character fire. I don't have any errors. Mike Jones, you're making a game about killing dead things. Accurate. Dead cubes. Maybe we should do an asymmetrical version of this too. So 2 players are spawning zombies of different attributes, and 2 players are trying to mow them down. That'd be kind of interesting. So you could also press the spacebar to fire at one point. So let me disable all my stuff and see if still pressing space would make it fire. Maybe refactoring all this stuff, I've somehow broken the ability to fire. Oh. Alright, that's good. Space is still working, so let's go take a look at how space makes things fire. I think that was an agent. I'm a little confused. Space chat's like talking about spacebar for firing. That's retro gaming. No, space is good. You can hit it with your thumb while you're doing WASD. Maybe I can just go start firing. Agent. No. behavior. Start firing. All right, let's see if firing is stuck on now when I do that. No, it's not firing. Maybe it's because I'm spamming it. All right. Let's try to do a one shot. Fire one shot. There's got to be a better way to do this in Unity, but I'm just doing it kind of doing it the way I do it in Verilog. Okay. If the trigger is over the dead zone and fire one shot, we'll go in here once and then we'll set it false until you let go of the trigger. Yeah, someone's saying we just need some resistors. I agree. And some transistors, some logic gates that make this whole process a lot easier. Just stick them on down. So this should be self-restoring. So when we start up and my trigger, don't have my finger on the trigger. I think that works. Tim Williams says, true story. I once tried lighting a neon bulb without a resistor. Oh God, I've done that too. After gently guiding the leads into the outlet, the only thing remaining of it could even find is a single small carbon rod. Yeah, I did the exact same thing because, you know, when I was a kid, you used to be able to get these little neon night lights you plug in, and I opened one up and I didn't really understand why there was a resistor in there. It's just like, well, 110 volts, 110 volts. And somehow, somewhere along the way, I got some neon bulbs, probably from Radio Shack, and with my finger stuck it right in the outlet, and ball of plasma later, I stood up and only found like the leads. I don't remember getting hurt though. All right, this is totally going to work this time. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Ah. Oh, it's stuck on. Why would that be? Send it, they say. Send it, yes. Maybe I misunderstand. Maybe my trigger works opposite of what I'm remembering. Is it less than? Does it go towards 0 when you pull it in? Full send, they say. Started with one fire. Ship it. It's working. Oh, I never noticed on this. The bullets ricochet off of objects in there. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature that you can fire before the game starts. All right, let's play it a little bit and see how much I like it. All right, wave 1. Yeah, this is pretty satisfying. You just point at the zombies you want to get. They could definitely do with some variety in the death sounds. Yeah, the little voxel guy is pretty fun. He's got kind of a fun gait to him. Oh, some big zombies coming now. Oh, those guys are sponges. So Tim Williams, so what is this doing? Like a twin stick shooter that works? Seemed to work. Okay. I wonder why they have the function of fire up in there. I wonder if I really need to do it. I probably... I'm going to do it and see. Who knows what consequences if I don't. Question is, can I spam fire up or whatever it's called? Stop firing. Behavior. Stop firing. I think, you know, it's really cool is, you know, when you're doing twin stick games, there's always like an accuracy problem with joysticks. So you need a little bit of snapping. What I really like about this scheme is you just point to what you want to shoot at. It's super intuitive and super precise. Okay, let's see. Did I save that? I don't know. Let's save. Let's give this a go. Oh, it didn't? It no longer fires. Probably because I'm spamming that function. All right, I'm calling it a success for now. It'll probably come back and bite me later. And so I don't want to go through all the work to one-shot it. Okay. So I think the next thing I want to try is make a follow script that follows the character and moves the game board. So on the Till 5 system, you can have this game board that you see out here. You can scale it in size, or you can move it around, and your glasses are all relative to the game board. So you can add scripts to it, or you can attach it to game characters, and it'll have it move around. So you can have like much bigger scenes than just your little stationary game board right here. So I think this is a good one for ChatGPT. Let's see if we can enslave the robots to do this for us. All right, think like a senior Unity 3D developer. Create a script that has a public game object to follow. Chat room. 3BI1J says, is the game board a fixed size, or does it just depend on the memory used? I don't quite understand that question. So in the game board can be scaled to any size. So if you make the game board really big in your scene, all your game objects get smaller. If you make your game board small, then everything gets bigger. I don't think it really has much to do with memory. Tested to Destruction said, how long is it since you first put the beam splitter in backwards and started this whole journey? So the backstory on that is I worked at Valve Software. I helped put together their R&D department to explore bringing people together to play games in the living room. We did set-top boxes and game controllers and VR and AR, and we did a ton of experiments. And I started getting excited about AR because it's really great for bringing people together, which was our mission. And I was working on a more traditional kind of AR system where you have an image generator and some relay optics, and you have the world combiner, they call it. In this case, it was a beam splitter that like put the image into your eyes. And there's severe limitations to doing that. It's incredibly difficult to make a wide field of view display. You can't do variable focal depth very easily. You can't occlude the world, so you're always running into contrast issues. So I was really fighting to try to figure out how to solve this. And one day I put a beam splitter in backwards, and one of my colleagues had a piece of this special material that we use in the game board here called a retroreflector. And I projected this image out into the hardware lab, and I saw this beautiful image across the lab. I'm like, that's weird. And then I put the beam splitter back in and continued on. And it wasn't for months later that it came to me, like, this solves all the problems. You know, if you take up all that space between the user, you can have perfect occlusion, you can set up a variable ray bundle coming out of the glasses so your eyes can focus at different depths and have a super comfortable experience, and it's low cost, and it's just, you know, a great way to make AR, probably the only viable way to have a consumer AR experience that's this immersive for a long time. And that's probably going on 10 years ago, actually, to answer your question. So 3VI1J following up on his question. I mean, is there just a view of certain size map, or can the map be of any size, dynamically loaded? Yeah, it can be any size you want, right? And it comes to, in the game board in the Unity engine, and you can have multiple game boards, one for each. You can just scale them how much you want to display at once. All right, let's enslave ChatGPT. Create a script that has a public game object to follow and a public game object to move towards. Lerp over time. User definable lerp time, lerp speed maybe, for the following, and only translate toward the follow object. Have user defined settings to constrain which axes the moved object constrains axes with applied to the moved object in X, Y, and Z. That might work. Let's see. I love the confidence of ChatGPT. The sad thing is we have a follow script, but it doesn't lerp. So I've been meaning to talk to the team to see if they could update it to do lerp instead of just an instantaneous move, because if you do an instantaneous move with your character, sometimes it'd be a little jarring. All right, let's take a look to see how badly ChatGPT did. Object to follow, this is going to be our character. Object to move, this is going to be our game board. The lerp speed. We've got some bools that we can set in the editor to constrain. Sometimes we may not want to go up and down with the character. Like if your character is, as it's animating, it might be bobbing up and down. Check for null objects. This is so funny, you know. I'm usually so lazy I don't check for null objects, and ChatGPT does much better at checking for that stuff. So it just kicks out if any of our public game objects are null, which is cool. So we're just getting the transform position of both. And then we're going to constrain each of the axes, and then we're going to do object to move transform position. So it's going to set the position lerp, current position follow lerp speed. I guess the only thing that looks a little odd to me is it's not considering a time tick. So we'll give it a shot anyway. Maybe we'll have to come back and ask it to lerp with using time instead of, this could be I think this could be potentially variable, because update may, depending on the frame rate, you know, it could lerp at a different rate. All right, code copied. So let's go to the game board, and we're going to do a new script. What was it called? I forget. Too many tabs open. Follow object. Okay. Bloop. Okay. Don't see any errors. I'm going to disable that for a second. I want to find out at what level our character's moving. I think it'd be root, but I want to confirm. I got one more random fire out of nowhere. Okay, so this is the character and the root is moving, so that's where I want to follow. And one level up. Oh, it's moving too. Actually, I kind of want character, because it's not bobbing up and down. So root must be the character as it bobs along. All right, go back to the game board, and we are going to follow character, and we are going to follow move the board. And Y is up on the board here, so we're going to constrain that axis. We may need to add an offset to this too. Oh, script is off. There it goes. Thank you, ChatGPT. I also kind of like the dampening it has so far. Looks like it's not going to be too jarring. So now you can see, let me switch to Mixcast. See as I cruise along. Yeah, we're just dragging the game board through the scene, and so now there's new things visible. Okay, let me see if this is even playable like this. I do see some problems. The UI, because it pulled the board up. Here, let me restart. I'm going to set these constraints correctly. Yeah, I do think we're going to want to do some offset because it's just pulling the game character to the middle of the board. I think the character were better served if the character remains along the bottom of the board. We have some scripts on our website that do this kind of stuff. We also have a board rotator script, which is nice, so you don't have to necessarily have the logos and stuff in the right position. The board will just auto snap, and you can set it like I want it to snap every 90 degrees towards the player, or 180. This is handy, like when we make this multiplayer, we are probably going to want to have each player's game board snap to their position so you can sit around all four corners. All right, let's see with the constraints correct. Yeah, that's better. Well, the UI is still being clipped. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move that UI. Ooh, I like I don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah. So there's a light on the end of the little voxel character's gun, and there's little tiny barricades here, and it shines through. It's a nice little effect. Ooh, I like this. Ooh. I take it back. I take it back. I like... Excuse me. I like the player in the middle now. Because I want spawn points now where zombies are coming in a full 360 around me. Oh, this is nice. Because I can spin around in 360. Sorry for all the noise, everyone. I like that a lot. Okay, thanks ChatGPT. I don't think I need to do much with that, except for the UI needs to be pulled out of the terrain real quick. So somewhere the UI lives here. Jackie, thank you. I'm glad you like my videos. Excuse me. I swallowed my fizzy drink funny. So I think I'm going to fix the UI real quick, and then I'm going to move some of the spawn points around. So somewhere in here is spawn points, and I'm going to have zombies coming at you in all directions. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Where is the UI? Oh, the UI is probably attached to the game board. Yep. Yeah, typically you want to hook your UI to the game board, because if you do exactly this, where you start dragging the game board through the scene, you want your UI to follow along. No, thank you, Tested. Yeah, I mean, people find some of my stories interesting because of the weird stuff I've done in the past, but to me it wasn't much of anything. It was just doing things. Tool tips. Gotta find the canvas. I think this is what I want to do. Yeah, I think I'm going to bring the UI up a little bit so it doesn't intersect. There's all kinds of cool things you can do with the UI. Right now this is pretty simplistic. It's flat. A lot of people like to hinge it towards the user to make it a little bit more readable depending on your angle. I tend to like it flat. One thing I do is I stretch it vertically away from the user. Like when you're driving down the road, if you've ever noticed, if you walked up on the numbers and arrows and stuff on the paint on the roadway, they actually stretch it a little bit, which makes it more readable. I don't know, it's personal preference. I think they're all fine. You know, the hinging thing, having it dynamic, sometimes I feel it's kind of weird because it's moving around a little bit with you, like if you're kind of ducking around and looking at things. Nuno, thanks. Less sugar, less he says, less sugar, less reflux. Yeah, that's true. It is 5 o'clock. It's almost adult beverage time, and it is a holiday weekend here, so I will partake. Um, let's see if that UI is better. Maybe we will, for today, we'll fix the spawn points. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, the UI is in a good place now. It was just a little low. I don't know. We'll see how long I want to go on this. If I haven't bored you all by now. All right, so let's dig in. Let's find the spawn points. Mob spawners. Here we go. This is where all the zombies come from. So, yeah, as I recall, there's different waves. So there's these game objects in here that have scripts attached to them that describe what the different waves are. So right now there's 3 different waves. And so in the waves, looks like it releases 30 zombies the first time of zombie skinned. And you can make subwaves within it. So since this is kind of a wave shooter, you can kind of set up each of the waves you want. I want to add some levels to this though, and I need to find some other monsters and stuff to add eventually. Let's look at wave 2. It's 10 zombies skinned big. And then wave 3 is 15 big zombies. Yeah, we're gonna have to dig into this a little bit to figure out how to make up these different waves, especially when we start adding more characters to it. Oh, I'm glad I'm not boring you guys. Good. Actually, to break it up a little bit, let me show you something I just got working this weekend. I'll be right back. One moment, please. So if any of you have been following me on Twitter, you may have seen my hacked up Toshiba T1000. I should actually make an OBS that has a full screen. Sorry about that, everyone. The reason that I made a PC, well, it's got a PC and a touch screen in it and a keyboard decoder. I think these things were even clunky in the beginning when they were new. So I've wanted one of these for a long time, a working one. So I've been getting on eBay, getting a bunch of broken ones and trying to make one that worked. And it finally, after 3 of them, combining enough pieces, now I have a working one. If the battery's charged enough. Doesn't look like it. Anyway, I got one of them working, and I had a leftover carcass, so I found a wide aspect touchscreen, use a Raspberry Pi Nano or Pico, whatever they call them, the tiny microcontroller-based ones, to do a keyboard decoder. Found a knockoff Nook computer and bandsaw the top off of it so that I could wedge it into this space over here. And then I loaded it down with lithium batteries and found a USB floppy drive, a kind of slim one. I made a metal bracket that would hold it behind the actual panel here, and made a modern Windows 11 Toshiba T1000. I love it a lot. It's actually really awesome. I like sitting on the couch watching TV and using it just because of the form factor of the screen. It's pretty awesome. And let me move this away. Before I made the PC the PC T1000, I made a Model 100 PC compatible. So this is booting up. So same thing. I found a really slim NUC. It had to be even slimmer. Kind of cut it down, got the motherboard inside, jammed it full of lithium batteries, used a Raspberry Pi using CircuitPython to decode the keyboard. And but I needed input on this one because I wanted to keep the original plastic bezel, so I can't get to the touchscreen. So what do? You modify a koala pad. So this is my Bluetooth enabled touchpad koala input that matches my Model 100. Ugh, too heavy, hard for me to lift. Come on, Windows, load. This thing actually runs for like 6 or 7 hours because I had to get some super low power or wimpy NUC to put inside of it because it had to be very slender and no fans. So there it is. And I can open my text document using my koala pad. So anywho, it's something to break up the monotony of programming. Here's a couple little hacky projects I put together. People are a little frustrated I didn't video and document it, but I don't know. I just didn't have a ton of time. I'm going to Vintage Computer Festival this week, so hopefully I'll see some of you there. And I'll probably bring one or both of these hacked up machines. Sorry, I gotta shut it down because, Windows. Come on, Windows. Anyway, I have these around the office typically, and, people like them a lot. I'll bring them to meetings. Okay, shut down. Oh, and it has speakers. I have speakers built in too, so it has all audio and funness. Has exposed USB ports and all the fun stuff, so you can hook it up to other devices. All right, back to our mission here. Got to move some of these spawn points around and give this a try. Ian asks, which VCF is this? This is in Chicago. I'm pretty sure it's this Friday is when we start setting up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this week. I'm flying out there. Prescription says, Koala used one of those in 1983 with Apple II. This one was a Commodore version of it, which was probably around that same vintage, maybe a little later. This one was broken. I always do this stuff to broken computers. The Model 100 was completely smashed. The screen was cracked, and the keyboard, which is a one-sided phenolic board, was split right down the middle. And then there was a lot of capacitor damage, so I just yanked everything out of it and resoldered together the keyboard circuit board, and then kind of backlayed it with a piece of acrylic to kind of stiffen it up. Yes, 3VI1J says it's VCF Midwest, out towards Chicago, the suburbs of Chicago. It's the big one of the year. There's going to be a lot of cool folks there, like Aimeen Taylor from the Aimeen Taylor Show. Adrian's Digital Basement's going to be there. Tons of other YouTubers and non-YouTubers. All right, let's move some of these spawn points around. Oh, I know what I was looking at. I think some of these spawn points, yes, I wanted to look in the waves and see which spawn points are used. So 0 through 5 are used, 0 through 4 are used, 0 through 10 in the final wave. Yeah, the chat room's talking about the game board, how it can be scaled and kind of how it acts as a monitor. It's kind of like a volumetric monitor. Let me show you that really quick, how it behaves. I think I can do it real time for you. That's the cool thing with our glasses, is you can modify almost everything in real time. So if you look at the Mixcast when I start this, I think it's hilarious that it fires one bullet when it starts. I think I need to gate the firing on whether the game logic is started. All right, so I have the game board selected here, and the scale is at 0.25 right now. If I start changing that, oh, crashed it. I went negative. Let me restart. Maybe I will type numbers in instead. So all of the scale on the game board object are locked together, so you just need to change one. So if I do this, that made the game board really small. Right? And so I go like that. That's the normal size. Make it really small. Really, really small. See, right now it's so small that, you know, there's no terrain out there. Curious what that looks like out of... Oh, that is small. It's so cute. It's so small. It's so small. The chat room's asking if anyone's made pinball games for it. So there's an open source group that makes these beautiful pinball machines. I know they're working on supporting that. It's called Visual Pinball. Unity Visual Pinball? Something like that. I got to try a build of it. It's pretty cool. I'm building one, which we'll just release. It's going to it'll have an editor, and it'll be like pinball construction set. So I built a construction set kind of set of tools that we've been using in our Marble Madness kind of sample project. And so I'm bringing that over right now to the Pinball Creator. Turns out, you know, the Marble Maker, as we're calling it, it's a lot easier, you know, to have 4 people around the table making your own custom marble mazes and having success. Now in pinball, it's a little trickier. It's because there's ball traps that you can get your ball trapped all the time. So like if you know, on your incline, if you have like just an entire row of pop bumpers with no space between them, you know, the ball can't make it to the bottom. So it takes a little bit of effort. Oh, cool. Someone said the Visual Pinball is great in VR as well. It looks beautiful on our system, especially our extended board. Oh yeah, people in chat are talking about the classic pinball construction set from the 80s. Okay, so I'm going to move some of these around. I think the strategy I'm going to use is, first, I'm going to center up the game board when the game's not running to be kind of where it's going to be where the game's running. So I can see where the spawn points should be. So the kind of ideally, we probably want the monsters spawning somewhere where you don't see them, and we can even duplicate some of this stuff. Let's duplicate this guy, give us some places to have our zombies spawn. It's a little hidden. Okay. I haven't saved in a while. I better do that. Especially since my computer was complaining about running out of memory earlier. Let's hide a little spawn point over here. Let's have a little spawn point there. Let's put one over here so they kind of flank you. Okay, that might be good. Yeah, 3VI1J. These are super fun to play with, you know, and there's a lot of non-gaming things you can do with Tilt 5 too. So we have a free CAD viewer, so you can load any of the standard models and Rhino files, STEP, STL, and I use it almost every week now to demonstrate or work with mechanical engineers so we can collaborate on stuff. So that's pretty cool. We have a medical image viewer that's free on our website that lets you load all the nifty files and DICOM and a couple others. So these are standard medical files. That's a pretty fun one to play with. We're working on a protein folding viewer, so you can load the standard protein folding. I don't know much about it, but it shows you all the ribbons and electrical charges and funny things. Actually, let me pull that up and show. Tilt 5. Give you guys a tour of the Tilt 5 website. So you can choose your own adventure now through the Tilt 5 website. Do you want to play? Do you want to make or collaborate? So if you want to make, you can go in here and learn about making stuff, play. Let's play. Talking about all this stuff. You can go to the games. You can look at all the different games. Like we have Takanoko now. We just released this. It's really fun. You can play local, up to 4 players sitting around the table. Play this really fun board game where you have to get your panda to achieve certain objectives, like eat bamboo, or your farmer to grow bamboo, things like that. And you can also play remote as well, so you can log people in across the world. This one we just live streamed from the office the other day. It's a blast. I didn't like it the first time I played it, and then the team pulled me in and taught me how to play it. So you're this almost like these weeble wobble little characters here, and you're running around, and it's all local multiplayer. And you can pick up bombs and missiles and bread and different stuff and throw at each other. Your objective is to try to knock each other off of the different platforms. There's lots of explosions, and the more people you add to it, the more fun it is. This is an action shooter, which I like quite a bit. So it's now multiplayer, so 2 people can sit around the table and you have to defend the planets. It's like a wave shooter plus a lot of other stuff. So then we have the Tilt 5 lab, and that's where some pretty cool stuff's shown up. So Go Monster Go. This was actually a submitted project that was sent to us which was just a kind of single player game. And so we took a look at it and we're like, this would be really fun multiplayer. So we asked them if we could just hack on it and make it multiplayer. And we turned it multiplayer, and it's crazy fun. It's like Fall Guys. So all four of you are racing through to try to get around this track, get to the end, not get knocked off by the hammers and spinners and different things. You have to jump between fans and things like that. We play this a lot. So up to 4 players, 1 to 4 players. The Till 5 demo pack, which is a lot of cool intro stuff. So if we go to the lab, this is where you can find some of the non-gaming stuff. This one's kind of fun. I built this one for ham radio. So if you have a Yaesu antenna positioner, you can actually hook this up to your antenna positioner. You can track satellites, and your antenna will follow the satellites when they go over. Right now it's hard-coded to Antioch, where I live here in California. I'll probably expand it pretty soon where you can do anywhere in the world. But it's fun to just look at the various satellites. When you point to them, it'll show you which satellite it is, and you can speed up their motion so you can see their orbits and stuff. You can even go out to geosynchronous and highly elliptical orbits. And I added a little gag to it. You can pull the trigger and vacuum up the satellites, and it makes kind of a rattly vacuuming sound, like you're vacuuming up a bunch of pennies or something, which is kind of silly. The 3D model viewer, this is the one I was talking about. You can load any 3D model basically into it. You can have multiple users like picking it apart. All free. You know, different stuff. Like this model, we pulled it in for the photo shoot. It's just a like a Rhino file, and so it pulls in all the attributes that you might set in Rhino, which is transparency and color and annotate stuff. Yeah, someone says about the satellites, it's like gpredict on steroids. I built it because I hate using the ham radio prediction software. It's just a pain in the butt. I just wanted to point and click to the satellite that I wanted to follow. And plus there's a little menu out front. You can't see it very well. Well, maybe in this screen cap. There's a menu, so you can like click through. It loads up all the amateur satellites, so you can click through those, and then if you click another button, it loads you know, all the other junk in outer space. But yeah, you can just click on the satellite you want to follow, and then it highlights it. Difficult to see here, but the satellite that's actively being tracked by your Yaesu antenna positioner is the one that's highlighted right here. It's kind of purple. SatSim, yeah. I'm going to keep enhancing this over time. Maybe we'll do it here on live stream. I don't know. The medical image viewer is really cool. So CT scans look amazing on this because CT scans are kind of density based, and forgive me, I'm not a medical person, but you can set the transfer function on it so you can isolate, you know, soft tissue from bone and brain and all kinds of stuff, and you know, different visibility things. And then when you, we need a screenshot with the cross section. It has a variable cross sectioning tool. You can cut into, you know, the objects. Maybe I'll load that in a little bit. We'll take a look at it. Bunch of other stuff in here too. Desktop viewer, you can bring your Windows desktop over. Bone Breaker, which is a game. Guacamole, good for kids. This one you burn your villagers, so very Trogdor like, with lots of screaming. So yeah, that's Till 5 website. And to point out, buy now, because we just turned 6, deep discounts on the 2 and 3 player pack. Over $100 off on the 3 player pack. Okay, let's try out those new waypoints and see what it's like. I'm gonna get all fancy with the stream here. Let me give you a big mix cast so you can see. So my little guy, he just follows my reticle here. I'll start the game. It's really intuitive input here. Oh yeah, this is nice. Now we've got guys coming from all sides. Ooh, I wonder if I can ricochet off and hit one of those. Oh yeah, this is way more fun. Uh-oh, I got a guy sneaking up on me. Yeah, I think there's a lot of options for different guns and... Got you. I know we're on wave 2. We got these big sponges. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Oh man, these guys are tough. I'm glad this one's getting hung up on the... Oh, I'm screwed. Uh-oh. I died. Let's see. So someone asks, are the visuals restricted to having the retro material behind them? Yes. So the Mixcast, and it was related to Mixcast. That's pretty accurate to what I saw. You know, Mixcast it doesn't know where you are, so it's just from its own perspective. But you know, what you can expect is a pretty nice volume in front of me. People misunderstand our system all the time. They think you can't do like big experiences, but you actually have, you know, I'm in a pretty short chair here and I have, oh, I don't know, like quarter meter of volume in front of me to work with. So it says, oh God, the gun sound effects is in triplets. Yeah, we need more weapons in here. So, all right, maybe that's where I'll stop today on this, but let me see what I've got on this machine. I want to show you the CAD viewer if I've got it here. Close that down. Free up a little memory. Oh, actually, here, let me show you this. Once my cursor stops spinning constantly. Stop spinning. Downloads directory is not responding. That's not a good sign for the health of... Not a good sign for the health of the system right now. I have medical image viewer in here. That's a bummer. We'll have to do it next time. Let me load up some stuff. So one of our engineers that works on a lot of kind of the system level stuff makes games and stuff on the weekend. He just built this one this weekend and it's out on a GitHub somewhere. I'll ask him if he's okay with sharing that next stream. But I go to downloads. This, he just made a bunch of like really simple simple little games. He was able to kind of grind them out really fast, which was cool. All right. So you can see the board rotating there. You know, depending on which side I am on the board. He's doing what we lovingly call the P-stream wand arc. This kind of keeps your wrist in a nice ergonomic position as well. All right, so he's got simple checkers he put together. So yeah, what you would expect with checkers. Boom. So that's kind of fun. I mean, change game. He has reversey. And it's multiplayer. I don't know much about reversey. I think you have to take over the board or something. So that's kind of fun. I'm sure this is going to be up on our labs page pretty soon. And then chess. And that's kind of cool. Nice little effect with the pieces flying around. Can I not go there? I don't know anything about chess. Oh, can't do that piece. So it kind of shows how much you can get done in just like a weekend of playing around. And he made a really cool jigsaw puzzle game, which the team's actually been a little bit addicted to. So you grab a bitmap file and you load it in, and then it just chops it up into a jigsaw puzzle and uses physics to kind of dump everything all over. So chat says, wait, a P-stream effect? You can't expect any man to be able to control that. There's going to be pixels all over the place. True, it's true. Let's see what else I have on this machine that I can share. I'm kind of bummed about the medical thing. Actually, you know what? I have the internet, so I guess we could just download it. I think this is so cool. I have no clue what I'm actually, looking at, but so Mike asked, do you have something like Lackey CCG for playing card games, like from Magic Set Editor, free Magic the Gathering cards? We have a few platforms that let you do kind of board games and card games. I don't know if there's anything exactly like that. There's Tabletopia that has a bunch of games that you can play, and then you can create games on Tabletopia. Oh no, you weren't seeing Mixcast? You didn't see the chess game? 3VI1J says he's going to feed the Jigsaw program an all-white bitmap. That's smart. That's really smart. Have fun with that one. I think I haven't really played with it too much. I just keep seeing the team play it, but I think you can set the complexity of the thing. So you guys didn't see the chess and stuff? I thought I saw it. Oh, you don't see anything now. Yeah, that's because I don't have any applications running. I apologize. Let me finish downloading this Medical Explorer and get it installed. Yeah, if you don't have a Unity project going, all you get out of Mixcast is this like blue thing. Downloads. Medical Explorer. Oh, it's giving me all the windows. Don't run. How fancy, a real installer. So it's kind of fun. I demoed this to some real doctors recently, and they were pretty blown away. We went to Augmented World Expo, which is a wide variety of gamers, non-gamers, professional users, and they um, kind of lost it when they saw it because the cross-sectioning tool we have is, and we thought it would just be kind of fun, is to do a spherical cut, and it turns out that is fairly novel because they only look at things in slices, but to have a little bit of spatial awareness because of the kind of semicircular carve. All right, let's see. Doesn't look very exciting right now. There it is, it's loading in. So you can rotate around. I have to try to do this from your perspective. All right. So right now it's set up, it's just kind of all the data in there. So if I push, I think it's X button. All right, we can start playing with density, and the Y button. This is like blind leading blind right now. All right, I got a little bit of, so it looks like I'm isolating like the bones. This is all soft tissue. Yeah, we should really default this to something that looks cool. There, we're making some progress. Okay. Oh, I had it looking really cool the other day. I don't remember which button it is. Anyhow, download it, it's free, have fun with it, and I'm going to complain to folks to at the office next time we re-upload it to have it in kind of the cool looking state. Expecting to see gears inside. Oh, well, I think, unless there's any last questions, I think I'm going to run off and have an adult drink and watch some TV and wish my new Xbox was here so I can play the new Bethesda game. All right, everyone. See you all. Bye.